Game week 24 in the Premier League. We're talking a few games and betting on a few games this week. We're going to be discussing Leeds home against Arsenal, Liverpool home against Newcastle, Aston Villa home against Brentford. That last one is on a Sunday. Looking forward to it. RotoWire.com/betting/soccer. I will be using all of the odds over on our page at RotoWire. That's YouTube 15% off. If you want to use stats, if you want to use our cheat sheets, if you want to use anything in depth over at the site, that would be your code for 15% off. So this first one, Leeds are home against Arsenal. Leeds, I think maybe a little surprisingly heavy underdogs here. Plus 500. Arsenal are minus 180 to win. Arsenal, they've fully rotated pretty much midweek. I think that is kind of the bonus for them because they didn't really need to play their A squad in Champions League. They still got the win either way. The one thing I wanted to look at before this, so we got last 6 matches, the form of these teams. Leeds are actually top 10 in the table. 2 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. Arsenal, 11 points, 3 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. So Leeds have been playing, I think overall, as a team, Leeds have been playing maybe the best they've looked all season, you could argue. You look at some of these home games, they got the win against Fulham. Away, they managed the draw at Liverpool, 1-1 against Manchester United, 4-1 against Crystal Palace, 3-3 against Liverpool, another Liverpool game. Going back to December further, 3-1 against Chelsea. So I like Leeds in this spot. Do you like Leeds in this spot? Is it worth it to go against a somewhat rested Arsenal who are 4 points at top of the table?
Yeah, this one's a little tricky. Leeds obviously playing pretty well and surprising a lot of people. Arsenal, meanwhile, as we kind of expected, top of the table, but have kind of struggled a little bit recently. You know, they drew Forest 0-0 and then lost to Manchester United. They cruised in the Champions League, which that helped. And then obviously it helps to be able to sit your best players on any given week. But we've seen this last couple seasons where, and this is not, Arsenal is not the first team that this has happened to, but you hit like January where you're playing 2 matches, sometimes 3 matches in 7 days, and you start to kind of lose the levels and drop points. I'll say I'm putting a lot of weight into the fact that they did cruise through the Champions League and they were able to rest a couple guys in the midweek. So although I'm weary of how well Leeds has played, I just think that Arsenal will be better after some of these guys have had a full week to kind of recover. So I'm leaning on them just kind of coming away with a result here. The money line is minus 180. Obviously, going to stay away from that. Not a lot of value, but I think you could couple that up with like an over 1.5. Maybe get like an Arsenal 2-0 win here, and it's still not great. Minus 115. If you think that I'm a little scared of trying to take an Arsenal clean sheet just because Leeds have showed that they can score on a lot of quality teams. If you like that, you can get a Arsenal win in a shutout. It's plus 135. That would be another one that I would consider.
I've been on a lot of Arsenal wins and shutouts lately, and they're allowing goals. So a lot of those bets are not hitting. Just those mistakes against Manchester United were a little questionable on their part. But Leeds, in terms of playing at home, I think they're actually gonna attack here. You know, most of these games, and when smaller clubs go against Arsenal, it's like, okay, we'll sit back and we just won't let them get good opportunities. Let's see if they can, get one of their set piece goals, and it'll be 1-0, 2-0 kind of thing. But I think Leeds are going to attack them a little bit here, and I kind of wonder if that's actually going to hurt them a little bit. If they do put more guys in the attack, is that actually going to mean more road to run? And Trossard, Gyökeres, now that Kai Havertz is back, all these guys, they're pretty much fully healthy. So I wonder if that may actually hurt him. So that is kind of one of the things I'm a little worried about here with the double chance on Leeds. But I still like the odds here, just in terms of how Leeds are playing at home specifically. But they're plus 135 double chance. And for the corners one, I looked at Leeds over 3.5 minus 110. I do think they're going to get odds. If you look back at the recent games, 7 corners home against Fulham, 7-3 against Manchester United. I think that one was 6-4. And then also, if you don't want to bet on Leeds corners, just take over 9.5 corners. It's not very many, plus 100. I think that implies that Arsenal aren't going to allow many. But again, I just think that Leeds are going to put enough into their attack, and they are also pretty healthy compared to what they have been. So I think there's going to be corners in this game, and I think Leeds will press a little more than what we're used to seeing from smaller clubs. So if you don't want the double chance, maybe just go to corners. Also, Saturday, this one is a standalone. This one is maybe could be argued the biggest one of the week, and there are some decently sized matches, but we got two Champions League teams playing against each other. Both came away with decent results on Wednesday. Liverpool more than decent, of course. They won 6-0, but Newcastle got a 1-1 draw at PSG, which was plenty impressive. Both teams maybe not similar to that first game. Liverpool have a few more injuries. They have their right back issues. Frimpong is out for a few more weeks. We know about Connor Bradley being out. Curtis Jones is back from an illness. He missed midweek. Konate is back. His father passed away. He's been gone for about the past week, but he's back in training. So that's a boost for Liverpool. Liverpool are minus 125. Newcastle plus 310. This is a pretty interesting game here. How do we take Liverpool at home? Their form here. What is the Liverpool form right now? What can you tell us about Liverpool? Salah's back. Are they playing well, or is it just like a hit or miss kind of thing right now?
No, I think it's dependent on the competition. They in the Champions League, I think, what do they finish, like third or fourth in the table? They cruise. They're into the round of 16. The style of play is just so different in Champions League versus the Premier League. Premier League just so much more physical. They have been struggling with the low blocks, where these teams that are kind of maybe don't have quite as much quality, they can't, like, despite spending all the money that they spent in the summer, they can't really break them down. And then they're just so kind of susceptible at the back to conceding goals. So, and then it's just like in the Champions League, where there's still a lot of great quality, but the style of play is a little bit more open. Teams are, I think Anthony Gordon said that this week, where he's like, people just want to play a little bit more football when you get into Europe. And I mean, that's this, like, when you can go back and forth, Liverpool seems to be a bit better. I expect this one to be, I don't love the minus 125 at home. Like, you look at their back line. Yes, Konate's back, maybe, rested obviously helps a little bit, but like, who are they going to throw in at right back? I would reckon maybe Soboslai, or they'll try to put Endo back there again. I
think it'll be Curtis Jones if he's available again.
Yeah, one of those options. They're putting a midfielder at right back. So yeah. Curtis Jones, I mean, I think he played right back under Slot or under Klopp a couple times. We know Soboslai can do it. We know Endo or Gravenberch can slot in at center back. But if Konate's good to go, so I'm a little bit worried about that. Outside of that, like, Newcastle's a really great side, and the games that they've had the past few years have been pretty wild. Liverpool has taken the majority of points here. I'm actually going to go. I just don't. The backline issues. I looked at the corners, and I guess Newcastle, according to the cheat sheet, wins the most amount of corners in the league. It's a little over nearly 6.5 per match. It'll be a bit different going to Anfield, but I still think I like this one just because I like the number. Newcastle race to 3 corners is plus 175. I think just given some of, like, the doubts and maybe the unfamiliarness that Liverpool might have at right back, I still see Newcastle being able to hit them a little bit. Plus 175 on 3 corners. I think they can kind of start early and get at them, and then maybe Liverpool settles in. They have a propensity to, like, concede chances early. So
I think overall they were playing well as a team. They just weren't converting a lot of their chances. You look at the scoreless draw against Leeds and the 1-1 draw against Burnley. You look at those games, and they should have won those games. They just couldn't get the goals needed to come out with a victory. But then that Bournemouth match happened, and they dominated possession, but they ended up losing that one late. But that one, I don't know, it was away from home, so maybe that had something to do with it. And it was sandwiched between some Champions League games. So maybe that had something to do with it, but that makes this one a little harder on Liverpool. But if you just look at all these matchups, it just, a lot of them kind of scream goals, and then you throw in these injuries. There's a chance, I think, Newcastle would go back to 3 center backs again, what they did against PSG. Dan Burn returned from his injury, and if you don't have Guimaraes in there, they throw on another center back to help kind of deal with all the attacking that Liverpool has. But a small little parlay here, same game parlay I put together, just both teams to score, which is minus 170. Then Liverpool double chance, you're getting minus 115 odds. So this is kind of, this matchup, I think, should say goals for both of these sides. we have the injuries for Liverpool. We have the unknowns. And I guess the one thing you worry about is, can Newcastle score at Liverpool? They haven't been consistently scoring against most teams, so I guess that is the worry. But I think they do get a goal here. So minus 115, both teams to score, and the double chance for Liverpool. But I wanted to ask you. So it's kind of seems like everything that happened with Salah, like that was like the big news pretty much every game before AFCON. Then AFCON happens. He's gone for a month, and now it's just like Salah's getting 90s every game. He's like, okay, maybe they need him because they're kind of down a bunch of players, but still, it's just like not even a talking point anymore that Salah was benched and he called out Salah and all that. It's just not even a thing anymore. It like completely ended. AFCON ended all of that conversation. I think it's just kind of funny and kind of shows that it was kind of like a weird thing that happened, and maybe I assume it's not discussed discussed between themselves, but not even the media has brought it up from what I could see.
Yeah. I mean, it's another indication, and this could be in your regular day life or anything, but communication is clear. It sounds like Slot wasn't really communicating with him, and as to why he was benched. He wasn't performing well, so that's clear. And then when he wasn't, a club legend who started every game for 8 years, doesn't play, and then he did not treat the situation very well. A player who has typically avoided talking to the media, and then like comes out randomly and kind of goes scorched earth on it. And then it was like, Slot, it was like, yeah, I got to talk to Mo before he goes out there. They talk to him. He comes on against Brighton. He subs on, and then he goes to AFCON as a reasonably successful AFCON, and then comes back and turns out you need a right winger and a legendary one, and they seem to figure it out. So I don't know. Yeah, a little. I think the weirdest thing was like he had a kind of, he never talked to me. Like he would occasionally talk to media after games, and then all of a sudden, boom, he wants to say one thing and he goes scorched earth. So
yeah,
it was definitely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still look at it like, okay, the only injured attacking player is Isak. It's basically the same squad they had when he was actually getting benched, and it was a few days after returning, 90 against Marseille, 90 against Bournemouth, 90 against Karabakh. In a 6-0 game, he's the one going 90 minutes. It's not like, okay, Salah, like, whatever. Take a rest here. You're going all these 90s after coming from AFCON, where I assume he probably won a bunch of 90s for Egypt as well. But it's just kind of a funny situation. It's just like, okay, back to himself. Now he's taking all these set pieces, taking all these corners as well. Yeah, he had that set piece goal.
Yeah, goal and assists in 3 games since he's been back. So starting to perform a little bit. Obviously lost to Bournemouth, and then the midweek game, that was a shellacking. So we'll see if he can start to score a little bit. I mean, that's why he's the most expensive player in the side. So why would you not start him?
Is Mo Salah back?
I'm not sure. in physical, as a human being,
he is back.
He's back in the starting lineup. So yeah, sure.
Yeah. There you go. Moving on to Sunday, Aston Villa plus 110 to beat Brentford. Brentford are plus 260. Aston Villa injury ravaged here. They played Thursday. They came back. I think it was they're down 2-0. And they can't. Was it against Braga? It was against, I can't remember who it was against, but they came back and won 3-2 on Thursday. Brentford, of course, they do not have midweek games. But so Aston Villa, they have these injuries. We're talking before the show. We got Yuri Tielemans out a couple months. Ollie Watkins picked up a hamstring injury on Thursday. I'd really doubt that he's playing. Unai Emery gave some cryptic notes on his scan and all that, but I highly doubt Watkins will be able to start this one. Begins out a couple months. Kamara likely out for the rest of the season. We could see new signings, Douglas Luiz and Tammy Abraham getting the start. Do you think that affects what's going on in this matchup here? Brentford not coming off the best result either for them, but Aston Villa, 46 points, 4 removed from Arsenal. They are the XG team. This is the XG team because they're winning all these games with minimal XG. It was I don't know, a few weeks ago where it was like Aston Villa are second or third place, and they have the same combined XG as like Wolverhampton, who are bottom of the table. That was a stat going around. I don't think it's still the case, but nevertheless, you throw in some more injuries for Aston Villa. Do you think Aston Villa can get it done here at plus 110 odds?
I think so. I'm taking Aston Villa money line. A lot of question marks, but they're the probably the most quality for them that at home is less attack and more like they've only conceded 9 goals at home so far this season. I think they kind of lean up defensively. Unai Emery obviously has the tactical awareness to pull something like that off. I am like, and it's not like Ollie Watkins has been better since, probably November, but it's not like he's been like lighting it up. Tammy Abraham, kind of a good backup option. I love like a good, debut for a club and maybe a goal. So let's keep an eye out for that one. But I am taking Aston Villa plus 110 here. I think Brentford, they've been, let's just see how this one goes. Brentford have obviously exceeded expectations, but I think Villa I think they're the third best team at home this season behind Arsenal and Manchester City due to their defensive record. So let's see if they lean on that one. And we have a little bit more of like a low scoring affair.
Yeah, I'll build right off that. I like under 2.5 goals at minus 105. I think it's kind of going to be low scoring, as Chris said here. If we remove all these attacking pieces and we throw in new players that haven't been there for a few years, what's it going to look like? But we still have Amadou Onana. Bogard has been playing a bunch. He could start as well, but their entire back line, importantly, they rotated all center backs. So they have 4 healthy center backs. They got healthy left backs and right backs. Chris mentioned their home record defensively. And as Chris said, Brentford kind of succeeding, overperforming this season. Maybe not as much in terms of XG as Aston Villa, but a lot of their success is off the counter. I'm not sure that's going to be available to them against this Arsenal defense. And I'm pulling up the recent results here. We got a 1-1 result in the EFL Cup. We got 1-0 and then 1-0. Those are the last 3 matches. So we got 4 goals in the last 3 matches. I know that's, it's a very small sample size, but backs up my point here. Brentford, a lot of their goals have come from PKs. And a lot of them have come off the counter. And I think if Villa does not allow those counter goals to happen, I think it's going to be a struggle for Brentford to score. And then Aston Villa, they've scored goals off of minimal XG. Can they do that in this spot? Maybe, but I think this is going to be a one, kind of what I said of the previous games, 1-1, 1-0 kind of a game, maybe 2-0 Aston Villa. I think it will be low scoring though. Under 2.5 is minus 105.